Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Welcome back to the Nightly News. I'm Owen Schroyer from Infowars.com, and September has been a crazy month. So in the final segment of the Infowars Nightly News, we're going to talk about all the craziness that happened in the month of September. Let's start with a big event that was quickly distracted from by the mainstream media.
Investigators believe he coordinated 3 terror attacks using homemade bombs
in the New York City neighborhood of Chelsea. This time, 29 people are injured. 3 hours later, word a pressure cooker is found just 4 blocks north, an undetonated pressure cooker bomb. Then, just after 8:30 Sunday night, 2 men find a backpack near the train station in Elizabeth. It contains 5 pipe bombs. And U.S. officials also tell ABC News that Rahami traveled to Afghanistan and Pakistan, later telling authorities he had a wife in Pakistan.
Based on the information we have now, we have every reason to believe this was an act of terror.
Radical Islamic terror hitting us domestically. Of course, there was also a stabbing that was related to radical Islamic terror, but we were quickly distracted from this by riots in Charlotte.
A dozen police officers hurt after riots explode in Charlotte.
Well, rioters shutting down traffic on Interstate 85, looting cars and trucks and setting things on fire. Video showing rioters jumping on top of a police cruiser, other cop cars kicked and destroyed with large rocks.
Now, much like the other riots we've seen, they were led by misinformation and false narratives, trying to say that Keith Scott was a peaceful man, didn't have a gun. It turned out that he did have a gun. He actually has shot a man before in Texas. And of course, what happens when we see people running with false narratives? We get riots on the streets and nothing accomplished. Of course, there was another police shooting, police fatally shooting a citizen in Oklahoma. There were no riots, there were no protests, but that officer is charged with manslaughter. Now, we also had the first presidential debate in the month of September, and this was a wild one, folks. Did we catch Hillary Clinton and Lester Holt using hand signals? You can be the judge for yourself, but these videos are pretty incriminating. And of course, it only gets stranger from there. Not only does it appear that she is working with Lester Holt, it also appears she has some sort of pack and wire on her back. I'm not sure if this is a medical device or some sort of speaking device, but undeniably, you can see it in that image right there. Now, of course, we were called conspiracy theorists when we questioned Hillary Clinton's health, but how could we forget the September 11th fall at the memorial? Hillary Clinton, there she is, blacking out, fainting, things falling out of her pants. She has to be drugged into this van. Her security quickly hides her. There you can see her feet dragging. She falls. She clearly fainted. She clearly passed out. Unbelievable. This is just a crazy month of September. Now, we also saw Michael Savage get his show pulled live from the air. He started talking about Hillary's health, and what happens? Magically, he's preempted. Magically, he is pulled from many of his national syndicates. This is an example of how they want to muster or put a muzzle on conservative media. Now, of course, Gary Johnson, a presidential candidate, this guy seems to be completely clueless. Listen to what he said in the month of September.
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
About?
Aleppo.
And what is Aleppo?
You're kidding.
No.
Who's your favorite foreign leader?
Who's my favorite?
Just name anywhere in the country, any one of the continents, any country. Name one foreign leader that you respect and look up to. Anybody.
Mine was Shimon Peres.
No, okay, I'm talking about living. Go ahead. You got to do this. Anywhere, any continent. Canada, Mexico, Europe, over there, Asia, South America, Africa. Name a foreign leader that you respect.
I guess I'm having an Aleppo moment in the former president of Mexico.
But I'm giving you the whole world.
I know.
Anybody in the world you like. Anybody. Pick any leader.
The former president of Mexico.
Which one?
I'm having a brain.
Well, name anybody.
Fox.
Okay, who's your favorite foreign leader?
Gary Johnson, a presidential candidate, completely clueless, completely lost in the month of September. Maybe he'll find himself in the month of October. We also had a cartoon frog declared a hate sign. That's right, folks. You thought you heard it all from the brainwashed left. You thought you heard it all from the tolerant left. but Pepe the Frog has been declared a hate symbol. You've never heard of a more childish thing in your life, a cartoon frog being considered a symbol of hate. But of course, this is nothing more than an attempt to demonize Trump and call him a racist and anything affiliated with Trump a racist. Now, we also had Colin Powell email leaks. We've seen a lot of email leaks over the course of this election cycle, and a big one in September was Colin Powell emails, in which we saw him talking trash on Hillary Clinton, basically threatening Hillary Clinton. This is something that has been a negative, obviously, for the Democrats. And even Colin Powell talking about Bill Clinton and him, well, we won't use the words he used, but basically screwing around with women in the White House, and how he most likely still does that to this day. How about Donald Trump's military endorsement? This was a historic moment for Donald Trump when they try to say the military isn't with him. Perhaps the greatest military endorsement, certainly in my lifetime, maybe of all time, where we have had, originally there were some 90 that came out, but it's over 100 military leaders have now come out for Donald Trump. Major developments in the Trump campaign for September. How about in professional sports, folks? Well, it started with Colin Kaepernick, and then he got praised for it. And then it went on, and now more NFL players are kneeling during the national anthem. Other professional athletes are considering it. Even U.S. women's soccer player Megan Rapinoe decided she was going to kneel. Completely disgraceful for me. We had a train crash in New York and New Jersey. Now, this was wild. There was a similar incident in 2011, and then there was a strange FEMA emergency broadcast the night before the crash, alluding to green eggs and ham. If I could on a train, if I would on a train. Very curious stuff with that. We had an ISIS chemical attack that happened at a U.S. base in Iraq. Let's roll that video.
But now, as we speak, this chemical shell is being tested by the U.S. military to see exactly what was in it. This shell landed on an airbase in northern Iraq where U.S. and Iraqi troops are operating, getting ready to try and fight to take Mosul back from ISIS. The shell landed. U.S. troops went out to look at the shell. They saw something suspicious. They tested it. The first test came back positive for mustard agent.
ISIS chemical attacks on a U.S. base in Iraq. Now, we also had Vladimir Putin's favorite chauffeur die in a car crash. This was a very strange car crash. If you watch the video, you can see how he's driving, and another man or woman driving in the middle of the road swerves right into the car. Truly a surreal thing, folks. You can see it right here. The car takes a turn at the last second. On the left, boom, slams into Vladimir Putin's chauffeur. Was this an attempt at Vladimir Putin's life? Certainly another crazy development that we saw in the month of September. Now, we are on the eve, folks, of the internet handover. Here in September 30th, the internet is about to be handed over towards national conglomerates, the UN. This is without a doubt a complete power withdrawal from the United States. Why would the United States want to hand over the internet to a national or international consortium? Why would the United States want to hand over the internet, something that we built, something that we created? Something that, because we are the beacon of freedom and free speech in the world, we should carry the torch of internet freedom. But no, Barack Obama has not taken as much power away from the United States as he'd like to just yet. He is going to go ahead and hand over the internet. And of course, Ted Cruz has, to his credit, has been trying to alert people in the government and citizens to do something about this internet handover, but apparently it was not enough. Even Donald Trump has echoed what Ted Cruz has said, and speaking about keeping the internet in the hands of the United States instead of in an international consortium. Now, of course, this is an encapsulated segment of all the craziness we saw in September. I didn't even mention all the clown attacks, dozens of clown attacks happening. So here's my question. If the month of September hasn't woke you up to start caring about this country, hasn't woke you up to start doing a little research of your own, I don't know what will. That is an absolutely crazy month that we just witnessed in the span of 9 minutes, and I'm sure we missed a lot of stuff. What will October bring? What will the October surprise be? I'm not sure, but stay tuned at Infowars.com, where we'll be sure to keep you updated. That's going to do it for the Nightly News. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. I hope you have a great weekend. We will be back Monday night, 7 Central, continuing to fight the war for your mind.
Thousands of years ago, there was a basic form of chivalry. Our ancestors would hear the drums of war, giving the warriors of the tribe a chance to organize and prepare a defense. 60 years ago, when foreign air forces were approaching filled with bombs, they had drums of their own, air raid sirens. But in the 21st century, there are silent weapons for quiet war. Pathogens added to the food and water, and to the lining of plastics that destroy our vitality, turn off our hormones, and accelerate our journey towards death. I personally counter this onslaught with Anthroplex. Anthroplex is designed with known organic concentrated herbs to create the basic foundation to normal metabolic activity inside the human body. Discover why Anthroplex is turning so many heads today. It's time for us to take our bodies back into our own hands, and it starts at InfoWarsLife.com with Anthroplex.